We can do what we were just showing, like the realistic comfort simulation in computers. That's a fast way to do the things. But we also really do like actual human tests. So we need to have some ground truth data. Like we ask people, a bunch of people, you will see some results later.
Hey everybody, Dave Lindberg in Hong Kong with a new episode of THD Podcast. Thanks for checking us out today. We have a company coming to us from Finland called SoundlyFit. So we're going to find out about that. They're pressing towards solving this problem of ergonomics, of fit and comfort, and adding audio layer onto that for performance as well. So we're going to find out all about what they're doing. But without delay, let's give a shout out to the ALTI Association. Apparently they had a big event at the high end in Munich, so I'm sure there's lots of people looking for a nice, great IEM fit at the high end in Munich. But so that's a great organization. We encourage people to go check them out. And also the AudioXpress magazine. We try to encourage people to subscribe to that publication, and they're a great support for us. So without delay, let's say hello. We've got Simon in Sendai, Japan. Good afternoon, Simon. And we have Markus Vaalgamaa and Laura Laaksonen coming to us from Europe. So good morning, guys. Thanks for joining us today.
Good afternoon. Thanks very much, Dave. It's great to be here. Thanks for inviting us here. So it's great to be here. It's a good podcast and we like it and we're happy watching it a lot.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
good morning, everyone. Yes.
Oh, yes.
Nice to be here.
We discussed in pre-recording that there's been some work in your space by some famous companies over the years, some bigger than others. Some were able to license their technology to big companies like Bose, etc. But where do you want to start on introducing what you guys have been working on?
Excellent. Maybe we can start like why we established the company. So we are called SoundlyFit, aiming for people's earbuds and a bit of audio, etc. So both of our backgrounds is in audio. We used to work as many people in Finland in audio, Nokia earlier. Then I jumped to this Skype, had a bit of time there. We met again in Microsoft times, and eventually we were working for Huawei. And I mean, Huawei, we helped company to develop new mobile phones, etc. Maybe 10 years ago, we started to working there. But while we were working at the Huawei, we transitioned from the phone audio to the earbuds. And one of the first questions that remains for all the teams, like audio team, battery team, antenna teams, chipsets, UI teams, like you guys probably can make the best earbud in the world. And I mean, great audio and big speakers and many mics, etc. Like that would be a great device. But I mean, eventually it will be such a large, like you can see in my hand, nobody can fit that to their ears. So some compromises need to be made. And who can help with those compromises? And that's basically, it was completely side topic for me and Laura maybe 6-7 years ago. And then, let's try. How difficult that can be. So, I mean, we really started like how difficult that can be in coffee table discussion. It was one of the meetings in Shanghai where we started that in Huawei. And they're like, maybe I can tell the story. Like in the audio tests, you have a bunch of loudspeakers and headphones and you play some sounds for people and they give you scores in the subject testing, 1 to 5. Yeah, I like the sound, 5, or I don't like it, it's 1. We thought that couldn't we do the same? You just 3D print earbuds or you buy them from the shop and put the table in front of people. You put device A, B, and C and ask people to try them out with a walk in the office. So that's where we really started 5-6 years ago. Now we are here today with more developed technology. But in principle, SoundlyFit, I mean, we don't do earbuds. That's not our business. We just help companies who manufacture those. So if I simplify, we help them to test them. But hopefully we help them to test them in a very efficient and fast way and using a bit more advanced technology, as you might see today.
Okay.
But that's the background.
Maybe let's get into a presentation and walk some people through some visuals to help them better understand.
Excellent. All right. So we collected a few slides for here and some demos for you to learn. And let's see how long it will take. Maybe half an hour, 45 minutes. Let's see in the end. Maybe I immediately transition to the software called Abacus and show you something live. So can you see my screen with the earbud and sort of like funny looking probably ear, as you can imagine? That looks like an ear. And if you look at closely, I mean, what we try to do here is similar that you might see in my screen. So a user places an earbud to their ears, like something like that. And what happens in the simulations? So let me show it. So by the way, we are the first company who do this publicly and actually got it to work. I mean, we do know that many companies tried, but they sort of like failed. But that's the other approach. But yeah, there's the earbud about to enter to an ear, and this is like physically realistic simulations, which means that there's an invisible hand, like you don't see the hand, but hand tries to guide the earbud to an ear, and let's hope that it stays there, and let's then analyze what we learned. So I run a video now. As you can see, there is the earbud going to the ear. It's a bit of slowed down version, but I mean, maybe it's sort of like visible. And let me stop it somewhere there. So let's now assume that that would be, actually that is the final position in the air. And let me turn it. So I was showing the first from the side, like this would be on a side view. That's, I mean, if you look my ear, somebody's ear from the side, that's what it looks like earbuds. In this case, Earbud Pro, this is just an example, sits there in the ear. But what do we learn? First of all, if I rotate this slowly, you can see some colors there. So whenever there's a white color, that indicates that there's no contact in between my ear. And actually that is actually my ear and the earbud. And whenever you see some other colors, that implies a contact. So we colored the contact such a way that like how would you feel it? Like the blue and green are like good colors, nice, gentle touch, not too hard a contact. And if I turn it a bit, you might see some darker colors. Let's see, do we have a red or black somewhere there? Okay, just small bit of, if you can see a small bit of red and black on the other side. But in principle, I mean, this is very comfortable. And I mean, I know it. For me, this is like in scale 1 to 5, maybe 4.5 or something like that. And actually, that is what also the simulation implies.
Can I just ask, this model is also modeling deformation of the materials?
Exactly, that is true. So, exactly.
Yeah. When you first put the earbud in, it looks like the kind of concha opens up. It's simulating someone actually. It kind of gets pushed open as you put in the earbud in, right?
Exactly, you're right. Exactly, like that's the idea. Like this is physically realistic. In this case, we simplified in a way that like we slightly stretch the concha, like how you would human would do it in trying to get it to in. Because maybe not with this one, but there's some other devices that are hugely large and they don't easily go to your ear. So we need to use some tricks. But really, I mean, this is physically realistic. So things, they stretch in a way. One way to think it, like you can see maybe a bit of coloring there in the video. You can think it like this has been built from the very, very small Lego blocks, like, kids playing with Legos. And now the Legos are not only square shaped, but they can be varying shapes. And these Legos can bend and you can deform them. Like you have huge amount of Lego blocks and they can bend and therefore they do deform. Maybe one way even to show you an example, like if I just, in this particular case, let's remove the ear, like let's keep the earbud at the same place, but let's remove the ear so it maybe helps you a bit to understand it. So what I'm doing now, I leave it there, the body and tip over there, and actually you can see that it has deformed. Maybe if I go slightly back in the video. How much I need to go back? Okay, that's a starting point, and maybe I show the video again, like you can see it. Like earbud comes to there, and you can see the contacts, and it does squeeze in. So it does deform.
So it would not just be like headphone brands. It could possibly be like materials suppliers. It's like, there's a lot of research recently with memory foams, and are those comfortable over time? But I can imagine it could be exhaustive trying all different materials to see what's the best, and all kinds of variables that could go into the perfect fit.
In a way, that would be a good point, and I like it. Like And what I like it, like, I mean, we go there a bit later, but we scan plenty of ears. So we have ears from different sizes and different geographical regions, like not only from like Western European people, but from Asia, Africa, elsewhere, like all around the world, America, South America. That's part of it, but also the age, like young people, older people. For example, we have been here helping hearing aid companies to do the same. Like when we become older, I don't know, 60 plus, 70 plus, we tend to have a challenge with the hearing, and then it would be great us to enable to hear again brilliantly, to hear our friends and family members. And one of the first devices before you get those very expensive hearing aids is like some more simplified devices in our ears. And then again, we have been helping, but yeah, we could test new materials. And what I like this is completely physics. There's nothing to do with do I like it or not. I mean, this is completely physics in this stage. And then later, of course, we can use this to estimate how comfortable this is. Like, but this, in a way, I like it. This is like there's a physics side, and this is it. And then how can you fit it to you? And then later we go to more like subjective. How does it feel? But yeah, this is the niche, very niche thing that our company does.
Okay.
Maybe other things that I can see, just quickly showing, like ear canals in general speaking. If I look from the top of my ear as an example, like now I'm looking from upwards, sort of.
Yep.
You can see that the ear canal, they start to go slightly towards my nose in the beginning there. And that's the first bend of an ear canal. And then typically they bend quite a much towards the back of my head. Like ear canals have these different shapes and sizes, and there would be actually even be the second bend there. And these all are unique for us. Somebody has turned a bit more and less, and somebody has turned a bit earlier than the others. And I guess these are the factors that make it very difficult to make one unique, size that fits every people. And maybe we come to that discussion a bit later in the presentation.
Okay.
But yeah, good. Maybe that's the quick demo.
Great.
If you have time, we can come to that again in later. So yeah, what we do, we don't do earbuds. We help companies to test the earbuds. We can do what we were just showing, like the realistic comfort simulation in computers. That's a fast way to do the things. But we also really do like actual human tests. So we need to have some ground truth data. Like we asked people, a bunch of people, you will see some results later. We invited even up to 50 people, like 50, that's a huge amount of people. And we asked them to use the earbuds because we want to know how comfortable earbuds were for them, because we should see the same in simulations. We need to train the simulation models to be applicable. And of course, because of that, we need to have some data for tools, ears. So we have scanned a huge amount of ears, and we tend to know like how to convert our ears to 3D world and how to then use those in the simulations.
Okay.
There was 3 topics what we plan to discuss today. Maybe we could start with motivations. So why would somebody be interested about ergonomics? And then we could transition to the subjective testing. Now, what is an ergonomics? What do you need to care? Why? Like we tend to know the term comfort. We tend to know the term they need to stay in my ear, but that's about if you talk with somebody in the street. Maybe somebody complains that yeah, comfort is fine, but I don't like my ears to be blocked. So this like people tend to mean different things. So it's good to have common ground. And finally, then we will discuss these simulations and some wrap-ups.
Okay.
If we start with the motivations, like every one of us have heard a story, like some of our friends just don't want to wear earbuds. And then the other guy says that yeah, every earbud is fine. Like why bother? So there was a good study by the Qualcomm 2 years ago already, where they interviewed 1,000 people, actually 7,000 people in 7 countries altogether, like United States, UK, Germany, China, India, Japan, South Korea, like different age people. I guess this is an online-based questionnaire. And it's a long story, but I mean, if I simplify part of the stuff for this discussion today. One question they asked, like, how do you select your new earbuds? What drives the purchase of that? And number one reason, like 45% of people said it's a comfort in ear. Second thing, of course, is price. Obviously, the battery life, sound quality, etc., are important. But maybe we can simplify that. Most likely, the battery life and sound quality are already pretty good in current devices. So comfort became the top. So then we were discussing like, why is that? And I guess the obvious reason is like we tend to wear earbuds for the longer times per day. I guess 45 minutes used to be the average in 2003. I don't know, maybe it's 50 minutes or 1 hour today. I mean, we commute, we go to work, we go to down, etc. We go to jogging. I'm using in sports my earbuds. Like 1 hour can be quite often that used. And if that's a time, then you want that to be comfortable, so it's understandable in a way. Maybe second question that people always ask, yeah, we got it, but I mean, is there money to be made? Like company wants to see, like, should I invest in that or not? And maybe let's see that at the next slide. They had an interesting question, which is stated like, how much extra would you be willing to pay for an all-day wear earbud? And that's the, if you could wear the earbuds for a longer time of day. Let's see the results. So the dark blue is like 11, 9, 9, and 11. So about 30% of the people altogether were willing to pay something more. And then you can see different sums of monies. Somebody's willing to pay something between $0 to $5, somebody 5 to 10, 10 to 20, and 20 plus. So you can do maths out of this. Actually, if you do the maths, like on average, there's a 40% of people who are giving you $12 more for an earbud. Maybe the more interesting question is typically if you buy an expensive earbud, people tend to, I don't know, maybe the average price is $50 or $30, $40 these days. But many people are going for this $100 or more earbuds. From those, more than half are willing to give you more money. And they're giving you $15 on average more, and you can do the maths over there. So that's quite a considerable amount of money. So you can take 10% more money out of each earbud that they sell if you are able to get people to understand that that's very comfortable design. Maybe at the same time, it's also good to understand there's another half of people who don't give you a penny more. So you need to understand to market it correctly.
Right.
And I mean, if you ask me, why is that? Most likely the other half has just like median and average ears. I mean, for them, every earbud is fine. Why would I want to put any more money to earbuds? Because they're fine for me. Whereas then the other half have maybe small, large, very oval, very narrow, I don't know, some peculiar feature in their ears, why they are willing to do the investments. So, I mean, yeah, you need to be clever, but I mean, you can really make plenty of money out of this.
Yeah, and if you think about like the Bose name, the quiet comfort, I mean,
Exactly.
it kind of predicted what you guys are going to get into here.
Exactly. And we need to say that we've been testing the Bose recently, and they are extremely well-made design. So, I mean, it's understandable why they're so comfortable.
Yeah.
But let's move on.
Yep.
So what is an ergonomics? I promised to tell you something about this, and you can see this nice picture with the some plant there and your ear. And often we refer that, I mean, we don't like the earbuds and they cause pains, and maybe therefore we prefer loudspeakers or over-the-ear headphones. But let's get the definitions right. So the number one question that people typically complain about comfort, that's a physical comfort. So there's a contact, as we saw in the beginning, between your ear and earbud, and somehow that used to be annoying. And like, how do we humans react to? It's basically the contact pressure. If I push my hand very hard, it becomes annoying. You might have heard the story about Denmark and this princess who slept in plenty of mattresses, and there was one pea under there, and she felt it. So that's a story of contact pressure technically. But anyway, that's a story. So that's how we react. But yeah, we want to use the word physical comfort because some people also use the term psychological comfort. I mean, you don't want to be excluded from people. You don't hear the other people if you put in earbuds. You walk in a downtown and you don't hear the cars and you're afraid. So that's the other question. That's a psychological comfort. So let's keep in physical comfort over here.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, it's good to understand with people when you're talking, like, what do they actually mean? And why I'm mentioning this as a first topic, because that's typically my primary issue that typically drives all the ergonomics things. But also there are other aspects. Let's view those. Another one that you understand easily, like if you go to walk downtown, do the earbuds stay in your ear, like secure or fit or stay in the ear. That's terms that people use, especially if you do sports or if you cycle to work like I did in the morning. Another aspect is easiness to find a place in your ear, especially when you buy the earbuds, you don't know how to fiddle them, and that's annoying if they don't stay, and you need to do some strange adjustments to the earbuds. But typically that goes over time. When you use the earbuds for a month, you tend to know how to place them into your ear. There's something for the acoustics, so that's a topic of this podcast, the THD podcast. Acoustics say, like, if you want to really make a good audio, if you want to make the noise cancellation to work, you want the earbuds to seal in your ear. We didn't discuss that in a simulation, but we can see if it seals. Like, is there contact throughout the ear canal that you would want to see? Finally, technical term, which I guess nobody knows the term, it's called occlusion. But in principle, if you block your ears like I'm doing now here, you will hear your own sound much louder and muffled. Also, you might hear step sounds when you're walking, and any coughing, etc. You hear much louder. That's annoying. Like, occlusion is a thing. That's a side effect. So if we block our ears, we tend to be occluded, and then we tend to hear it louder. So it's a compromise between those. But maybe these 5 terms are good to mention over here.
Okay.
Does this ring a bell for you?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Very much.
Yes, exactly. But yeah, I mean, today we mainly talk about the comfort and then simulations we're aiming for that. But in principle, I mean, we do see like stay in the ear. We can estimate that easiness to place to your ear. Acoustic seal, obviously, you can see that. We can see that also from the simulation. Occlusion partly, and then there are technical means. Like typically, vendors they by purpose left some leaks in between indoors and outdoors of ears, and you can. There are technical means to try to remove or reduce the occlusion.
Okay.
But yeah. But maybe we can swap to Laura if you want to maybe explain us a bit of like how would you want to test comfort or ergonomics altogether?
Yes, thank you. Okay, so yes, let's talk a little bit about the subjective testing, because while we mostly nowadays test and evaluate ergonomics using FEM simulations, these subjective tests are still kind of the ground truth for ergonomics. And also some of our own like models and algorithms and behind the scenes are also like taught and developed using this ground truth data from ergonomics tests.
Okay.
So we have organized and run many of them at SoundlyFit. And well, the main goal for an ergonomics test is to kind of find out how users would perceive the physical comfort and other aspects of ergonomics in their daily life while they are using these earbuds. And how this can be done, it's by inviting people from a target group to a test. For example, if you look at the picture here in the slide on the right-hand side, the test can be held at the office where we can arrange the earbuds on the table, having different sizes of ear tips. And then maybe there's some printed instructions or scales there on the table as well. So in short, how the test goes, the participants try the earbuds in their ears. They select the right ear tip size for themselves, and then we ask them to wear the earbuds for some time, maybe at least like 10 to 15 minutes. They go for a little walk to get the feeling that how well the device stays in their ears and so forth. And then finally, we ask them some very specific questions about the ergonomics. In the test, we can use either real devices or these 3D printed mock-ups. And both of these have some like pros and cons. Well, with real devices, one problem can be the kind of the visual bias. So we know already from, for example, from Loudspeaker audio quality tests, that if we show the participants that evaluate some loudspeaker audio quality, if we show them the loudspeakers, then typically maybe the biggest or the best looking loudspeaker wins. But then if we hide the loudspeakers, for example, behind some curtain, then you actually start to see better kind of the correlation with some objective metrics like distortion of the loudspeakers are producing. So the same story is with the earbuds. So if the tester can see the brand or color or materials and these small details that might affect the results. So that's why typically we like to use these 3D printed mockups that are like equally pretty or equally ugly.
Right.
And well, typically the testers then don't actually recognize the brands then.
I heard the one story, like just telling quickly, like you can do real device test, but without the bias, but then you need to have an instruction behind the scenes, and he or she then places always the earbuds to an ear. And I mean, you can do it, but it makes it a bit more challenging to arrange.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So we have developed our own ergonomics test method, and it's really like optimized and efficient way to test earbuds. And we can also take that test to different places, like where our customers are, or like in these pictures, to homes and offices and schools, etc., to really like reach the target people that we want to test, different ages and gender and backgrounds and markets and so forth. And one of the largest tests that we have organized is the one actually that Markus already mentioned, with 50 people or 51 people. And we have some results. Maybe you can show them.
Maybe quickly telling, like, it was quite a hassle to organize 50 people because you need to invite each people, and it takes about 1 hour per person. And as you can see, like, you need to sit next to them to make sure that they understand the scales. Like, you can outsource it or ask them to do themselves, but then the data is so noisy that it's better to be there yourself. So it took a time to do 50 people test. But yeah, results.
Yes. So in the test, we tested 5 different devices. They are here called A, B, C, D, E. And all of them were like kind of more expensive devices, over 200 euros or dollars. And we asked several questions about the ergonomics from the participants. But here we visualize the results for like this physical comfort and the overall ergonomics. So in the upper picture, if we look at that first, there's the physical comfort. The picture shows the average scores for each device, and the scale is from 1 to 5, so from uncomfortable to very comfortable. And what we learn from here is that there are some differences between the devices. The black bar there shows the confidence intervals. So even though the participant didn't always agree on the comfort, still the differences are like significant. And then in the bottom picture, that's kind of the overall ergonomic score from 1 to 5 again, from like bad to excellent. It's like a mean opinion score scale. And again, we can see that the earbuds are not at the same level in terms of ergonomics, but also we can see that kind of these, if we look at these 2 results, the ranking is about the same. So it actually tells us or hints us that the physical comfort is kind of a really important part of the overall ergonomics. So typically these go quite well hand in hand.
Okay.
And then, by the way, we call these devices here with letters, but there's an upcoming conference that will be held in August in Finland, where we will publish these results more thoroughly and show some more results, and also show the names of the devices.
Okay.
The teaser for the conference then.
Indeed. Now everybody
It's a nice AES headphones conference.
As I understood, like the paper will come public then. Like, I mean, you will see the paper then. Also, like, you don't need to participate, but yeah, you're welcome to participate if you wish.
Sure.
Okay, then. Yeah, so from the ergonomics test, we learned that people don't always like agree on what is a comfortable design and what isn't. And really the root cause for that is that we all have unique ears. So they are all different in terms of shape and size. And as shown in this picture, we show some ears and they are really different. So the pinna can be smaller or bigger, and the concha, where the body of the device typically goes, that can be smaller or more round or wide or so on. And also ear canals have different sizes, and they can bend more quickly or be more round or more oval. And so a lot of features there that can vary, and all really are unique. So it's not a surprise that one device is not comfortable in all ears.
Maybe one comment just quick, like if you, for example, look at the top right ear, that's at least concha looks very small there. And in comparison, if you look the middle row, the most leftmost one, that's a large concha. I mean, they can be up to 2 times larger and smaller. So it's in a way understandable why somebody cannot completely fit an earbud turn, it's a bit of tight, and another guy, I mean, it can fit easily, but it doesn't stay there.
Right.
Yeah.
And next we have a small snapshot from the data from our test. So for example, these numbers here are numbers that the participant in the ergonomics test gave for device D in the test, just some of them. And as we can see here, we already see some scores from 2.5 to 5. So there's big variation there. And which also leads to the fact that we need enough participants to ergonomic tests to really see reliable results and differences between devices.
Maybe a quick comment, like typically, for example, if you think about the title name of your podcast, THD, like if you play a people 2 loudspeakers, one that has 10% THD and one that has a 1% THD, like everybody tends to agree that, I hate the speaker with more THD and let me pick the another one. What we learned in earbuds is different. Like, I mean, there could be a person who always likes very, very small or large device because of their ear shapes, and other people. So people don't agree. Like, I mean, even though we see A, B, C, D, E ranked very clearly there in the UI, there might be some other person who completely swaps it just because their ears are different. And that's basically what the huge differences in comfort imply. So people don't always agree. And again, the simple reason, as Laura explained, is just the ear shapes. Like if you happen to have right ear shape for the particular ear, but of course you like it. So it's in a way understandable. But it was annoying for us in the beginning because we came from audio background. And we assumed that everybody's supposed to agree, but I mean, they don't. And then it leads to the fact that, we need to use double amount of people in the tests, and we need to split ears to easy ears and other small, large, and medium, and some different ears. And once you do that split, then you start to understand, okay, it's understandable because, I mean, these guys have a small ears, and of course they tend to like the small earbuds, and vice versa.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, and of course it's the same story with simulations then again. So no one is interested in whether an earbud is comfortable in my ear only. So really, they like an earbud company would be interested in how comfortable their design is on average, or even more importantly, how many people would be happy using their earbud. So, and for example, in some target market region or area. So to test the earbuds then with simulations, we then need a lot of 3D ears. And there's, at least 2 ways to collect the ear data. So the traditional way is to make these silicone ear molds and then scan the model, and then you get the 3D model of the concha and ear canal.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a traditional way used in hearing clinics, for example. But then the other approach is to use these like specific 3D scanners designed for scanning ears. For example, we use this Autoscan scanner shown in the picture, and it's a really nice device. We get a really like precise model of ear, and also one of the benefits is that we also can scan the whole pinna.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And using this approach, we have collected a huge amount of ears already. So we have currently over 600 ears from, over 300 people. And also we have scanned not just ears, but also the whole head from most of them. So in the future, hopefully we can also simulate and analyze more these like over-the-head headphones and their ergonomics as well.
Okay.
And the ears, we have a nice distributions in terms of age and also kind of like nationalities or backgrounds of the people. So we have divided the world into 6 or 7 regions, and now we have at least like 20 ears of 20 people from each region, and which we think that is kind of the minimum to get good results and reliable results.
Mm-hmm.
And now all these ears are then available for our customers through our like simulation projects, but also we can sell these ears to our customers for their own research and development. Okay. Yeah, I think that's what I had in mind telling.
Yeah, in a way, maybe do some stuff. It's in a way understandable. Like when typical company comes to us, then can you help us to test our new earbud and compare that to competitor or whatever? Then we typically first question is like, where are you going to sell it? And typically answer all around the world. And therefore we then answer, okay, if you do that, most likely we should use ears all around the world. And then agree. And that leads to typically to this discussion, like how many people from different regions and so forth. I mean, if I simplify, of course, there's plenty of similarity in ears all around the world. I mean, you have small and large ears in all the continents. It doesn't matter what is your color of your skin or something like that. Mm-hmm. However, there are small differences. It appears to be small differences depending where you are born or where your parents have been born in ear shape. So therefore, it does make sense to look a bit of the different geographical regions as well.
Okay.
Okay, let's move on. Back to the comfort simulations. We started there. So the pictures are pretty. I'll show you some pretty pictures in the beginning, and you can make them even prettier, like in this example here. Like you can visualize them, and you can see the comfort and scales, etc. But I mean, they are difficult to make. I mean, you need to have a realistic ear model there. You need to scan ears. You need to have these earbuds. You need to try to somehow automatically paste them together. You need to see that the final position is correct. They're difficult, and not many companies have succeeded. We succeeded recently. So the question comes, why bother? Like, I mean, this looks cool, etc. But why should I? Shouldn't I just do it the old-fashioned way? Copy the competitors, etc. And maybe I try to explain that in the next slide.
Okay.
Let's think about the earbud company. They want to make a new earbud, and they want to compare to the old design, and they have some new ideas and so forth. And let's think about 2 testing methods. First, with actual human test, as Laura was explaining, and second one with TEM simulations. So as such, both of them work, but let's see the differences. So let's assume that we run a 50 people test. And by the way, this is not a real data. Maybe I will re-say it again, like this is illustration. This is not the real data. I want to make my point clear, and I'm illustrating this data. So we run a 50 people test, and then I go privately to the manager, let's say, Laura, I run the test, and we 50 people, and now a new design. There was a bit of complaints about the body part. So 8 people complained there, so we need to fix it a bit. And then 4 people also complained something about the ear tip size. We need to fix that as well. And then she asked me, great, what should I change there? Well, you need to make it better. okay, how would I make it better? Well, that's a bit of difficult to say. Maybe we need to run a new test. So you maybe run a test again, or then if you are in rush, maybe you copy the best one in a design competitor. Like, I mean, it's difficult to know what to fix, and that would annoy any mechanical or UI designer. I mean, thanks very much, Markus, for your results, but I mean, can you go until you can help me in a way or another? Let's see the alternative, which is FEM simulation. The beauty of FEM simulation, again, this is not the real data, this is illustration. I manually did the illustration for this case. So let's be clear, not real data. If you want to improve Earbud Pro, don't do according to this picture, but this illustration. But let's say we have 50 people and we visualize all their contacts in this plot. So let's see, red would mean that many people have strong contacts there and so forth. So then we can learn something here. First of all, we can say there are many parts of an earbud design where it's very general. So you don't need to do anything for this particular part here. I mean, there's no contact, general contacts. Maybe there are even some parts that never touch anybody's ear, like this grape or whitish area. So actually, this whitish area is something where you can enlarge. So you can make it larger. You need to put the battery there, and you need to have back volume for the speaker, and you need to have a microphone somewhere. You need to have antennas. Like, where do you place them? So actually, you can move stuff there. And then vice versa, there are now, in this example, these 5 red dots. So these are the areas maybe you want to improve. So somehow, for example, this example would be somewhere there up there, there's some particle corner that seems to hit several people's ears. So what we should do then, Markus, maybe if you can try to make the surface a bit more flatter, or can you take it down, etc. And of course, the mechanical guy would tell me, yeah, I can do that, but we cannot fit the battery in. I need to angle the loudspeaker there, etc. So of course, there are realities in the world, and you cannot do it all. But very often, mechanical guys and designers whom we have worked are very clever. I mean, they're very easy. Okay, I see your point. And they first, I cannot do nothing, but then you give them half a day or 1 day, and then if I turn this a bit, and maybe if I place the loudspeaker, angle it slightly, etc., they can figure it out something.
Right.
And as you can imagine, this is very useful for them. This is because it's visually easy. They understand where I should focus. It's very easy to find what should I fix. And also, I mean, because the FEM simulation, I mean, they run over the weekends, over the nights, etc. So maybe you can rerun the simulation. Let's run it again, and maybe 3, 4, 5 days later, we have new results. So it allows you to do the development in the cycle times of the typical products, like 2-3 months. So you can do few iterations. So in a way, if I simplify what I just told, like ergonomics test with real people, they're excellent of showing what is good and what is bad, but they're quite bad in showing what you should fix, whereas simulations help you to do that. So maybe that's the biggest benefit of simulations in a big world.
It's not only sorting out the fit, but there's also like a battle that goes on in any product design for space. Like everything needs to be smaller, and then, like you said several times, battery or other electronics or transducers that need to fit, and knowing where you could get more space or where you don't have any space is a good approach.
Exactly. I mean, this seems to be very useful for many people. Maybe something to comment immediately here is also that, I mean, then somebody have assumed that we have because we have done it for several years, so we should know what is the perfect design. And honest answer is no, we don't. Because I mean, the earbud can touch from so many points to the human ears. So they're very different. And I mean, you can have very different designs that are still comfortable in some people's ears. So it's always case by case. So we can learn, for example, in this picture, how should you fix this? But I cannot promise that whatever is the outcome would be the best design in the world. So maybe if you run then 15 simulations altogether and you iterate over and over. So it's still a bit of like snapshot of those people's ears whom used in testing and how it fit there. And most likely there's still, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 people whom the device don't fit.
Right.
Because their ears are so small or so challenging.
Yeah.
So just to give realities, I mean, you can make it clearly better without the technology, but most likely you cannot find the perfect design. It takes more iterations.
Right.
Maybe some examples from simulation still, of course, because I mean, it's a real living simulation, things move. You can, for example, see how the ear was when you didn't place the earbud to your ear and when you place it to your ear, like the gray and the skin colors indicates the deformations. That's what Simon, you commented in the beginning. You can see the contacts. Maybe other question would be that, I mean, maybe actually I show, do we have a bit of time if I show you another simulation? I'll basically show the story.
Yeah, we've got time.
Let me show another simulation. So this was one ear, and let's pick another ear. There's another ear over there, and let's make a video out of this again. I need to change the color for this. So contact pressure is typically the thing that we want to show here. Is the wrong? Why do I see it? Maybe I just switch another ear. So I changed the ear. That one didn't have some data. So let me run the simulation again. Now this is a case of left ear, and there it goes. Earbud to an ear. And let's see if it stays there. So this ear has different shape, and therefore the contacts are also a bit of different. So if you look at it from the side, it looks like a bit of similar what we saw the earlier example. The stem aims towards your cheek or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at the contacts, they look a bit of different. Now we start to see, for example, the red color here. So in this case, I mean, most likely the user needs to place it a bit deeper, actually to her ear in this particular case. It's a female version, and needs to press a bit harder, and you can start to see like stronger colors over there, generally speaking. So in this case, the comfort of this particle design in people's ears is a bit lower.
Right.
But then we start to wonder why is that, and if I now scroll it slightly, you can see that there's some difference in the shape of an ear tip there. Let me again visualize just the body and the tip. And now you see something very peculiar. So again, the example is from AirPod Pro, and what you would hope to see is, I don't know, can you see visuals? Maybe I show it there. Tip is not round, but it's pretty oval. Now we have seen that it's much more squeezed down from the center, so it's much more narrow in a way. So in this particular case, the ear canal shape is just this, just much more narrow and much more taller. So the width of an ear canal is smaller. And therefore, I mean, the tip needs to squeeze in. We can see a bit of stronger color somewhere there. But this was the example. As we can see, there's different comforts, but let me go back to the slides so I can make my place clear. So if you would take the same simulation, you would cut away from half of the height and try to see the contacts. For example, this would be one of the examples like that. You can see the outside of the tip out there, and then you can see the inner part of the tip inside there. Mm-hmm. In this particular case in picture, there's a stronger color somewhere down there, indicated with red color, and we would say, why is that? And in this case, you can see that the outside and inside they collide. It's like car pumper hits to the ceiling or wall or whatever, wall, not ceiling. And because of that, of course, I mean, the other parts, they can still bend and go backwards, depending on the shape, but this does not, because the inner side is such a thick, so it's a hard, it doesn't move. So these are the easy examples to explain why then part of the earbud design can lead discomfort. Then would be question, okay, what should we do? This is the case. Okay, maybe could you make the inner part a bit smaller, that there would be room for it to be smaller? Mm-hmm. Or maybe does the inner part need to have such thick walls? If you make them slimmer, maybe it would bend. That would be our other approach. Or maybe even a third approach. Why does your bumper need to be so flexible? So could you actually make it harder that it would never crash to the... So maybe the contact would be more equally spread in the outside of the tip, and I mean, there wouldn't be the self-contact. So these are typical questions then we remain to talk with the vendors, like what approach we should try.
Okay.
And maybe we come to the end. So this was what we planned to talk from the simulations and testing and so forth.
Okay. All right.
So when someone is developing an earphone and they come along, they ask to get a simulation done, you guys would scan their model, or they provide as 3D CAD?
Exactly. Yeah, we need to do both. Of course, it's easier as like if you talk with mechanical or UI designers, they typically do have 3D designs of the. I mean, we only need to have the outside of the stuff. We need to know the soft materials like the silicon parts, the tips. We need to know the show A value of those. Then we can run simulations.
Yeah.
But I mean, there have been a few cases where the companies have come that, can you go and buy that particle design and can you scan it? And then we have actually, I walked down to the shop and bought the particle design. It's easy to scan if it's white or yellow, not the black one. Unfortunately, many designs are black.
Okay.
But I mean, you can color them. And there's some spray which you can use. But basically, we have 3D scan them. That's a bit of more laborious, but can be done. So both
and then
approaches
within the simulation, there's some kind of manual work to kind of fit it or adjust the position.
Yeah, I mean, luckily most of the simulations are automatic. Like once we've done the bodies and tips, then we can automate it. But you need to do manual works. We need to Lego blocks them. So it's called remeshing. We need to choose the right resolution, not too detailed because then it costs a huge amount of computer time, but also not too simplified because then the corners are not correct, etc. You need to keep the shape corrected. We need to tell what is the orientation of the earbud, like where is the ear tip, and that ear tip supposed to go to the ear canal. Yeah, we need to do manual work, but that's typically 2 or 3 days of work.
Yeah, but most of the work is really automated, and then we can run very smoothly, like simulations of 40 or 60 or even 100 people.
Yeah.
Okay, so you don't have to kind of fit the earbud to every ear. The simulation itself kind of finds a local minimum or something of.
Exactly. But it is tricky technical challenge. Like we have a hand that tries to help you there, but in simplified, the hand is just like, let me try to get it to the ear canal.
Yeah.
But then you have XY jet, like three axes, and then you have 3 rotations. So actually, there's a 6 degrees of freedom how it finds the position. So we basically help in one of the dimensions. We apply force, but then all the remainings can be whatever. So eventually, like we remove the hand, and it will try to find its equilibrium position, like where it's in the middle. Like it doesn't want to move anymore. Like that's what we aim for. Like we remove the hand, we hope that it stays in the air. Luckily, they do stay. There's a bit of friction, but yeah, it's really like trying to do exactly what you do with your hand. You push it there, you maybe twiggle a bit, you take your hand out.
Yeah, and maybe to add, so we might not always be able to guarantee that each device is in the exact same position that the user would place it. But then when we look at the kind of the statistics and the results from there, then we get really, really precise results.
Yeah.
Compared to subjective ergonomics tests.
Okay. So in that sense, it might be kind of a bit of an iterative process where you would generate some results, would go and to modify the body and push things around and come back and see how that looks again.
Exactly. That's typical design, yeah.
Is it possible to do a reverse process to say, here's an envelope that you can fit your body into?
We could do that as well. Yeah, we could do that as well. But typically it's easier, there's first it's where to start with. And then we run simulation because then we tend to learn what is the corner or whatever. Maybe the angle of the tip is incorrect, etc. So you tend to learn what you should do. Yeah. So yeah, basically it's easier to do when there's something from which
a starting point to work with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's a curious one because if you talk about having various sizes of the AirPod body to suit different users, I guess generally most earbud manufacturers are at the limit on available, so they can't do anything smaller. Bigger, maybe. The focus is mostly on ear tips, is it? Or is that kind of a bit standardized, let's say?
Yeah, there's a bit of focus for ear tips, but maybe, I mean, again, ear tips, I mean, you can choose the round ones and oval ones. And actually, by the way, ovals are more comfortable. Just as a hint for anybody doing big oval ones, if you need to pick bigger earbud designs. But I mean, typically, there's not too much they can do for them. I mean, you can choose different sizes. Maybe they discuss like, do we do 3 or 4 sizes, and that's about it, or 5 sizes. But I mean, there's much more freedom for them to do within the body. But again, there's a constraints. Like you need to fit battery, you need to have a loudspeaker, a small speaker, and you can make a smaller speaker, but then you cannot replay as much bass. So I mean, there's a compromises to be made. And typically, audio guys, they want to have 13 mm sized ear speaker, and then UI team wants to have 6 mm sized speakers, and there you are.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very good.
All right. So, Markus and Laura, thank you so much for joining us today. We encourage people to get out and either read your paper from the AES conference, or if you've got the will and the way, make yourself to Finland and enjoy what limited summer you guys do get up there.
Yeah, thanks.
But okay, I think that's good for us today. So encourage everybody to like, subscribe, and check out the SoundlyFit website, and we'll talk to you on the next episode. Thanks, everybody.